They're looking for any sign of schoolgirl Charlise Mutten, who was last seen on Thursday, but her mother and stepfather only reported her missing on Friday morning. It's believed the 9-year-old came here to the Blue Mountains on a holiday from Queensland and was staying at her mother's fiance's family estate, which is also a popular wedding venue. Neighbours have told investigators they saw a car leave the residence early Friday morning without its lights on.
Welcome back. I'm Cassie and this is A Wicked World. The story I have for you today is about a little girl who went on vacation to see her mother and soon-to-be stepfather. And everything was going great. That is, up until the last few days that she was there. That's when she would go missing. This is the story of Charlise Mutten. Charlise Mutten, also lovingly called Charzy, was born on August 11, 2012, to her mother, Callista Mutten, and her father, Scott Hensby. Charlise was said to be smart, sweet, bubbly, and well-behaved. She also loved animals and wanted to be a veterinarian when she grew up. Charlise had lived with her grandparents at Tweed's Head on the New South Wales-Queensland border since she was 4 years old. This was due to Charlise's mother, Callista, proving herself unable to properly care for the little girl. Apparently, Callista struggled with both drug and mental health issues. Her drug of choice was methamphetamine. While Callista was serving time in jail through a prison program, she would meet 31-year-old Justin Stein. He was also incarcerated at the time for 5 years due to a failed cocaine import attempt. Justin also struggled with heroin addiction. And Callista was in jail due to a driving incident in which her passenger had died. She was there for 3 years. So Callista and Justin had continued their relationship once they were both released in 2020. So Charlise did not see her mother much, but on December 21st, 2021, she would fly to Sydney to see her mother and her mother's now fiance, Justin Stein. Little Charlise was excited for the trip, and she even referred to Justin as Daddy already. Additionally, Charlise had asked her grandfather before she left if he thought that Justin would make a good father. During Charlise's visit, the trio would spend much of their time at Wildstein Private Gardens at Mount Wilson, where Justin's family owned a home. They also spent part of this holiday staying in a caravan at Riviera Ski Park, which is about 90 minutes away from Justin's family's house. Judging by the happy and silly pictures that Charlise and her mother had taken together, she looked to be having a great time. But then, on January 14th, 2022, just days before Charlise was scheduled to go back home to see her grandparents, she would be reported as missing. Now, 3 days prior to this, on January 11th, Charlise had traveled with Justin to his family's home, while her mother remained behind at Riviera Ski Gardens in the caravan. Though it's not known exactly what time they headed out, the last text message that Charlise had sent to her grandmother was at 6:20 p.m., and Charlise's cell phone at the time had pinged near the caravan. About an hour after Charlise and Justin had left, Callista would text him, making sure that they had got there okay. While Justin didn't answer for a while, he finally replied back at 8:20 p.m., telling her that they had made it, but he had just left his phone in the car. He said at the time he was just cooking up some dinner for Charlise while she was watching TV and playing with balloons. The next morning, Justin texted Callista again, but this time he told her that Charlise was not feeling well and she had thrown up all over the floor and bed. Apparently, the little girl had woken up in the middle of the night, ash white, and she had gone into Justin's room, where she had got in his bed and spent the rest of the night. The next morning, she had woken up, still sick and vomiting. Justin told Callista that since Charlise was still not feeling well, he was going to leave her in bed to rest. The text he sent her read, "I am literally about to walk out the door. Charzy is staying in bed. She's wrecked and already fallen back to sleep." And Justin reassured Callista that Charlise would not be alone. There was an auctioneer who had actually stopped by to value some antiques for his family, and she had said that she didn't mind staying to watch Charlise while he went and picked up Callista. And for some reason, this was an acceptable answer to Callista, even though she had no idea who this person was. So Justin drove back by himself to pick up Callista, and when he did, the two of them took their time getting back to Charlise. They traveled first to Surrey Hills in order to buy some methamphetamine, and while they were there, they ended up having sex in the public toilet. Following this drug pickup trip, the couple traveled back to Justin's family's home, arriving at 8:44 p.m. When they arrived, they noticed that all the lights were off, and when they went inside, Charlise was nowhere to be seen. So Justin went around the home looking for her, while Callista called the local hospitals, trying to see if anyone had brought her daughter in. At this time, Callista also noticed that Charlise's bag and hoodie were missing. While Justin was looking around the house for Charlise, he called up his mother, who owned the home, and he found out some shocking information. The auctioneer, whom he said he had left the little girl with, wasn't supposed to be there until the following week. He then said he began to panic and went outside to walk around the property and look and see if Charlise was out there, but she was not. The couple was somehow able to sleep that night, and Justin was awoken the next morning to the sound of his ute starting up. When he ran outside, Callista was driving off in his vehicle, and he attempted to chase her down. Callista hadn't taken off to look for her little girl, though. She had taken off because the night prior, she had looked through her fiance Justin's phone and found out that not only was he using dating apps, but he was also talking to her friend, who she specifically asked him not to speak to. Additionally, the day prior, when the pair had had sex in the public toilets, when Justin had ejaculated, blood had come out of his penis. Callista had then Googled symptoms of gonorrhea and found out that that was one of them. Now she was under the impression that Justin was definitely cheating on her. So after she drove off in Justin's ute, Callista began sending him multiple text messages accusing him of being a cheater. "You're a liar, you're a cheat, and now I've lost my daughter. Going to neck myself, I'm so stupid," the message read. Callista then went to a local campground to get her emotions together. And she sent Justin another text, and this one said, "I'm grabbing my daughter and taking her to my brother's. I'm not losing her over you. I'm so stupid." Callista would also message a friend at this time, telling her that she had gone through Justin's phone and found out that he was cheating on her. Additionally, she told this friend that she didn't want to go to the police about her daughter being missing because she was afraid that if they found her, she would then lose her. Now, Justin was angry and he was desperate to get his ute back, so he began leaving Callista multiple voice messages. In these messages, he repeatedly called her names and told her that he was going to kill her. He then reported his ute as missing. Callista, however, would end up returning back to Justin's family's property 30 to 60 minutes later, and when she did, she tried to hide from him. Justin would find Callista, though, and when he did, he attacked her. He began kicking and hitting her all over. Callista would be left with bruising on her arms and scrapes all over her chest. Once he had calmed down a little, Justin told his fiancée that the auctioneer whom he had left Charlise with might not be who he thought she was. And the girl's disappearance could have been linked to ex-affiliations from his criminal past. Justin then said he was going to look for the little girl himself, and he was going to go to war for her. Then he drove off in his ute, which was now towing his boat. While out searching for Callista, Justin would speak with his mother again on the phone, and his mother would say that she believed Callista was responsible for her daughter's disappearance because things were just not adding up. She also said that Callista did not seem as upset as a mother should. Justin reassured his mother that he would get to the bottom of it. After hanging up with his mother, Justin called Callista and told her that he had hurt a man who was in a home where he thought that Charlise might be. He said he had stabbed this man. The next day was January 14th, and at 8:12 in the morning, Callista finally decided to report her daughter Charlise as missing, an entire 2 days after she was said to have disappeared.
Let's go ahead, Telstra.
61656, caller says she needs to report a missing child.
Yep. Go ahead, you've got the police.
Sorry, I need to report my daughter missing.
How old is she?
She's 9.
And when was the last time you saw your daughter?
2 nights ago.
2 nights.
Yeah.
So where did she go 2 nights ago?
She was here and she was being I wasn't here. My partner was here and he during the morning, she was really, she was sort of sick, so she was sort of lethargic, and I was 2.5 hours away, and Justin and the lady that came over to do the auctions for his mum, which was her friend, he asked if she could mind her while he went and got me, because he didn't want her in the car because she'd be throwing up, and she was fine with that. And the lady said, yeah, no worries, you take all the time you want. And when we got back, they were gone, and I thought maybe she's taken, so I rang the hospitals, but no, and apparently...
So yesterday morning was the last time someone saw her?
Yeah.
She only made the call after Justin arrived back at the caravan park and told her that it was not his associates that were involved and she needed to contact the police. And just hours after she was reported as missing, Justin was brought down to the Penrith police station for questioning. About an hour into this interview, Justin broke down and began to get emotional, saying that he felt responsible because he was the one that left the little girl with who he believed to be an auctioneer. And when detectives asked him if he thought that Charlise was no longer alive, he replied and said that he thought she would be okay. In my heart, I think she'll be okay because I know the kind of girl that she is. If something would have happened, she would have left a sign or something. So Justin was repeatedly denying that he had anything to do with Charlise's disappearance or possible murder, as police were insinuating. He claimed that Charlise meant the world to him, and he would have told them in a heartbeat if anything bad had happened to her. He additionally told the investigators that he did not believe that Callista cared about her child as much as she should, also telling them that she hadn't, quote, woken up after going to prison. Justin claimed that he was trying to build a new life, while Callista just sat around on her arse doing nothing. Since he wasn't under arrest at this time, Justin walked out of the building and asked for a cigarette, before he then admitted to detectives that he had not been entirely truthful, and he wanted a second interview. And during this second interview, he would lie even more. He told police that Charlise had not been at his mother's property with him, but the last time he had seen her was on January 10th. He said that he only found out she was missing on January 14th, and he was sure that her mother had something to do with her disappearance. So police would search through Justin's phone, but the story he was giving them was not matching up. Now, Callista was so upset about her daughter's disappearance that she actually had to be admitted to Blue Mountains Memorial Hospital. Here, she obtained mental health treatment, and the doctors also found out that Callista was 8 to 12 weeks pregnant with Justin's child. In the days after Charlise's disappearance, hundreds of police and emergency responders searched for her. Dogs, helicopters, volunteers, and locals spent 5 days combing the dense Blue Mountain woodland. Then, a few days after Charlise was reported as missing, police were able to obtain geographical coordinates from Justin's phone, which showed that he had driven and stopped by the Colo River. When police then went out to this location, they found tire marks on the side of the road, along with sand and scrape marks on the ground. Further down the embankment towards the river, they found an orange plastic barrel. It was lodged between two branches and looked as if it had been pushed from the side of the road. Inside the barrel was the body of little Charlise, and she was wrapped in plastic, then covered in sand. She had 2 gunshot wounds, one to her lower back and another to her cheek. A forensic toxicologist ended up determining that Charlise had consumed a toxic dosage of the medicine quetiapine, or generic Seroquel, 6 hours prior to her death. This drug would have caused a child to experience profound sedation. And guess who was prescribed this medicine? Justin Stein. He had been prescribed this to treat his schizophrenia, and the medication would be found at his mother's home in the mountains. While they had been searching for Charlise, police had been retracing Justin's other movements as well. Phone data and CCTV footage tracked Justin's movements for about 8 hours. On January 13th, before the data then shows that he returned back to the Blue Mountains. So as I had said, Charlise had spent the night of January 11th alone with Justin while her mother stayed back in the caravan park. It was believed that it was either on the evening of January 11th or the morning of January 12th that Justin killed Charlise. On the 13th, when he had left his mother's home to go search for Charlise, CCTV footage shows Justin's red Holden, Colorado ute towing his boat, and in the back of the ute was a barrel that was hidden underneath a blue tarp. He drove from there to Marsden Park Bunnings, where he purchased bags of sand. After that, he traveled to a nearby 7-Eleven, where he bought a can of Coke, a slushie, and a Snickers bar, before then filling up his boat with fuel at a nearby BP. Before he dumped Charlise's body, the location data showed that Justin had traveled to at least 3 separate boat ramps across Sydney, at Rose Bay, Germain, and Windsor. Justin had first gone to Rose Bay Wharf, where he had circled the parking lot a few times before then leaving for some reason. After that, he drove to Germain Wharf, but would decide that that one wasn't going to work either. From there, Justin had gone to the Windsor boat dock, and during this time, Callista had also texted him saying, "Please get our baby back." Once Justin got to the Windsor boat dock, he was unable to launch his boat. His plan was unraveling. It was believed that the combination of Charlise's weight, the sand, and the barrel was just too heavy for him to lift up into the boat. After trying for about 20 minutes, Justin then headed to the Colo River, where he would remain for around 50 minutes, disposing of Charlise's body. After pushing the barrel containing Charlise's body down the embankment, Justin had then returned back to his mother's home in the mountains at 2:45 a.m. Now, during police's investigation, they found that a plastic barrel was actually missing from Justin's mother's property, indicating a high probability that Charlise's murder had taken place there. Eventually, Justin would end up admitting to dumping Charlise's body, but he said that her mother was actually the one who had shot her, not him. And while he had been the one who placed the barrel in his ute, he had no idea that Charlise's body was in there, he claimed. Justin admitted that he had gone along with the plan to cover up Charlise's murder, but only after he had found that her body was inside the barrel. When he realized that Callista had put her daughter's remains inside, he panicked and disposed of them. Callista denied having any involvement in her daughter's death, and police were able to determine that she had not been up at the house in the mountains at the time that Charlise was believed to have been murdered. So, Justin was the one who was arrested and charged with Charlise's murder, then held without bail. While he was being held in prison, Justin had actually been asked by a correctional officer if he had killed Charlise. He told this guard that he had not, but he had been in the vicinity when she had been shot. Justin Stein also called his mother, Ann Mee Stein, 18 times while he was staying at the Silverwater Correctional Complex. In one of these phone calls, Justin was heard telling his mother that he needed her to retrieve something for him that he had buried up in the mountains. He told her that he had borrowed certain things from friends to take care of those drones, which he later dumped into a bush. But Justin's mother told him that police had already found what he had buried. Justin was unaware that weeks prior, a woman had stumbled upon a suspicious bundle of sticks while she was out looking for wildflowers. The woman had at first thought nothing of it, but when she later mentioned it to her son, who was working on the emergency response team looking for Charlise, he recommended that she report it to police. Detectives then visited the site, which was off of a fire trail in the Blue Mountains, and they dug up 2 rifles along with ammunition. One of these rifles had a scope attached to it, and police would end up determining that Justin had bought it just a few months earlier on eBay. And once this scope was brought in for processing, they found that Justin's fingerprints were all over it. So guns had actually been stolen from a neighboring property in Mount Wilson by both Justin and Callista back in November of 2021. One of these guns was used to kill Charlise. Both Callista and Justin would end up being charged for stealing these weapons. And Justin would also be charged with possession of child pornography.
More than 4 months since Charlise Mutten was murdered. The man accused of killing her was back in court facing new charges. Justin Stein hit with 2 counts of possessing illegal rifles similar to these. Police say they were stolen from properties neighbouring his family's Mount Wilson estate, also allegedly found with videos depicting child pornography. Homicide Squad detectives say the videos didn't involve Charlise, who was Stein's soon-to-be stepdaughter.
At his trial, which began in June of 2024, Justin Stein pled not guilty to the murder of Charlise Mutten. The prosecution, however, believed that Justin had given Charlise the antipsychotic medication, and when she had become extremely sick from it, he shot her once in the head and once in the back. So while there was no standout motive that was presented at Justin's trial, he was questioned on the stand about how he had been alone with the little girl, how he'd given her a medication that would make her drowsy, how she'd slept in his bed, and the fact that she'd been placed in the barrel with clothing, but no underwear. But Justin's defense team was still trying to place the blame for Charlise's murder on her mother. Under questioning by his defense counsel, Justin sat in the witness box and wept as he gave his account of Charlise's final moments. Justin said that on the morning of January 12th, Charlise had been sick and vomiting, so he had given her 2 ibuprofen tablets. I've never heard of ibuprofen working for vomiting, but all right. There was also no trace of ibuprofen found in her system when the toxicology report came back. He then told the jury that he had put Charlise in the car even though she was sick before he went to collect her mother. Justin told the jury that the trio had then traveled to Surrey Hills, where he and Callista had bought drugs, but he denied having sex, claiming that Callista watched him walk his dog while her mother was in the toilets, shooting up, as he said. When they were back at the Mount Wilson home later that night, Justin claimed that he asked Charlise if she wanted anything for dinner. After that, he went out to work on a car in the shed. While doing this, he said he suddenly heard a shot ring out, and Charlise scream, "Justin!" Then she cried out, "Mummy, no!" before a second shot was fired. Justin said, "I walked up to the fence. That's when I saw Charlise on the ground. And Callista had a rifle in her hand." He insisted that Callista then turned to him and said, "What the fuck have you done? You did this. You made me do this." Then Callista screamed at him to get a tarp and pointed the rifle at his head. Justin then claimed that he went back to the shed for 5, maybe 10 minutes. His stories changed. But after he came out of the shed, both Callista and Charlise's body were gone. So Callista had grabbed her 78-pound daughter along with a rifle, and without a trace or sound, she had mysteriously vanished, according to Justin. Justin also claimed that Callista had somehow managed to get her daughter's body into the barrel on her own before she then took off. All the while, he was rolling a joint for himself. He would also later say that that night he had to cry himself to sleep. Please. And another unbelievable part of this story is that Justin not only claimed that Callista had been able to put Charlise in the barrel without him knowing, but she had also cut up a square of bloodied ground and put it in the barrel with her daughter. This was an unnecessarily invented narrative to explain why bloodied grass and dirt had been found inside the barrel with Charlise. The next day, on January 13th, Justin loaded up what he claimed he thought was an empty barrel, which I'm not sure how that would happen because she's 78 pounds. You wouldn't think a barrel was empty if it weighed over 78 pounds. Get out of here, dude. He claimed that he had then stopped at Bunnings to gather some supplies for his caravan. Justin also admitted that he had lied to police about any criminal associates and the auctioneer, but claimed that Callista had actually made up these stories and he was just going along with it. Justin's mother also testified for the defense at his trial. She said that while she could not recollect many phone calls from the time, she did remember a phone call that had taken place on January 12th. Ann Mee's story was that her son had called her that night and told her that he was going to pick up Callista and Charlise from the caravan park, and they were all headed back to the Mount Wilson home. She told the jury that she was not happy about this, and in the background of this phone call, she heard someone say, "Norelli, it's only one night." When she was asked who this voice belonged to, she said it was Cheeky, so it had to have been Charlise. But in the footage of Ann Mee's questioning by police, she had told them that she had heard nothing in the background of that phone call. Ann Mee would also say in court that the relationship between Callista and her daughter was not what it was supposed to be. claiming that she was often aggressive towards Charlise. But here's what Charlise's grandfather and guardian, Clinton Mutten, said.
Despite the distance, Charlise's relationship with her mum was very loving and unconditional. Charlise would cry at times, saying that she missed her mother and she looked forward to communicating with her. He said the 9-year-old would often video call with the couple. She said that she really liked Justin and she asked me if I thought he would be a good dad. The grandfather believed the pair was clean when they allowed their grandchild to visit for Christmas in 2021. Mr. Mutten revealed his final conversation with Charlise in early January, about a week before the murder. He said she was happy, in good spirits, and told him she loved him.
Now, it was also said that Anne-Mee had actually gone to the police station on February 17th, 2022, and had been shown photos of the firearms that police retrieved from the woods. The detective reportedly told Anne-Mee that the fatal gunshot appeared consistent with a rifle round. Anne-Mee had then said to him, "You said she was shot twice, wasn't she? That's what's been reported." The detective then told Anne-Mee that police had only reported that Charlise had died from a gunshot injury and had not disclosed any other information. She also described her supposed-to-be future granddaughter as a lovely little beautiful girl who did not deserve to have her life cut short. At the end of his trial, Justin Stein was found guilty of Charlise's murder, and he is to be sentenced on August 23, 2024. And Charlise's biological father, Scott Hensby, posted an emotional farewell to his daughter on Facebook, saying, "Goodbye, you beautiful little girl. I love you so much. I miss you every day. You have captured the hearts of the nation and the world, and now those hearts are breaking with mine." He continued, "This doesn't happen. Kids need to be safe. What is wrong with you people? We will get the answers for you, baby, and we will honor you properly. This is not the end of your story." Charlise Mutten's former primary school, Tweed Heads Public in North South Wales, also made a shrine for her at the entrance of the school where people left flowers, cards, and other gifts. Additionally, they held a candlelight vigil for the little girl on January 19th, 2022. Well, thank you for listening to Charlise's story today. While there was never an official motive given for what Justin did to Charlise, I think it's pretty obvious due to the sedation medication he gave her, the fact that she was found without underwear, and the fact that they were alone and she was sleeping in his bed. If you do like true crime and you want to hear it from me, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and turn on those notifications too, so you'll know when I upload a new video. Thanks for watching A Wicked World today. Until next time, take care, guys. Bye. Thank you to all the patrons of A Wicked World. Now, there's even more of A Wicked World on Patreon. So check it out at patreon.com/awickedworld or use the Patreon app. You'll have access to exclusive videos each month and more. Any support truly helps to make sure the victims never get forgotten and to highlight the shortcomings of society associated with each case. Also, if you haven't yet, go check out my new channel, Wicked Ways. Do you have a suggestion for a case you'd like to see me cover? If so, send me an email at awickedworldtruecrime@gmail.com.